Today, I finally have a list that I'm happy with. I was brewing with it for quite a while. I was looking for different homes for Sephiroth because I freaking love that card, freaking love that guy. He's my Smash main, he's my new Magic main, he's my main in pretty much everything. And we're looking at mono black Soultrader. I tried different splash colors, I've tried Golgari lists, I've tried Orzhov lists, I've tried Madu lists. And this is the first list that I'm actually really happy with. I'm also heavily considering it, playing it as an RCQ just this Sunday because, to be fair, I am already qualified, so it doesn't really matter too much. But it's also just actually really good for the meta. It's also tuned to it a little because you do see the Miracle in the sideboard. But it also just is real fun. And one of the things that often people sometimes, especially when they get too competitive with Magic, forget about is fun. But this deck also actually is really good. So let's have a quick look at it. And let's start off with our mana base, because we are mono black and we don't play Bloodghast. So we can play some utility lands and we don't have to play fetch lands. Mana base really cheap except for the Phyrexian Tower. So we have two cards on Lockthwain as late game card draw engines. We have two Phyrexian Towers to enable us to ramp a little. Two Spymaster Walls because they actually help with our combo. 9 Swamps, 1 Takenuma Abandoned Mire to grab back some stuff, and a handful of MDFCs, 2 Feather Profane, and 4 Bogger Trawler. Bogger Trawler actually also a decent buddy for a deck that plays Chthonian Nightmare, but we'll come to that in a little bit. We have our 1-drop creatures, 4 Gravecrawler for our combo, 4 Shambling Ghast because sacrificing them, they either create a treasure or give a creature -1/-1. Kills Ocelot Pride, kills opposing Bowmasters. The treasure is really good when we're comboing without a Gravecrawler because Marionette Apprentice also triggers off of this treasure. It's actually ramped together with Soultrader. It's basically a Lotus pet with it. Nice. And Stitcher Supplier to fill our grave and hopefully hit the Gravecrawlers or just fuel our Chthonian Nightmare. Then we have 4 Orcish Bowmaster, 4 Marionette Apprentice, our main combo piece with Soultrader, and 4 Nightmare as our value engine. Then we have 3 Sephiroth, because it also combos with Soultrader, great value, really nice when just loads of small things are on the board, we're able to sacrifice them, draw some card, and so for Soultrader. Now our interaction in the main deck is 2 Fatal Push, 4 Flare of Malice, and 1 Accursed Marauder. This deck being able to play Flare of Malice is one of the main draws that this deck can actually compete really well in some matters. For example, my local one. We have loads of Zoo players, we have some players that play Neobrand, we have Goros players. Discharge doesn't really do anything, Fatal Push doesn't really do anything, but Edicts are actually really good. Your opponent has the Leyline Scion, you just Flare of Malice, Edict them away, and you're Gucci. Fatal Push just because you need some more interaction, especially against stuff like Energy, and 1 Accursed Marauder because it's also a really nice Edict effect that you can recur with Chthonian Nightmare. Looking onto our sideboard, you can basically ignore this Emrakul. I'm just running the same list that I probably run at the RCQ right now, but we are like 20 people at the RCQ, I'd assume, and there will be at least 2 mil players. So we have to respect that by playing Emrakul. For Graveyard Hate, 2 Spell Bombs and 1 Surgical Extraction. We already have a decent chunk of Graveyard Hate with our Trawlers, but they do count to our land count, so we have to respect Graveyards a little. 4 Fulminator Mages against Eldrazi, big mana decks, together with Chthonian Nightmare, especially looping Fulminator Mage is just clean life. Another Cursed Marauder as additional removal, 4 Thoughtseize against combo decks, and maybe the juicy card of them all, 2 Turok Red Cantor against white black decks. I've tested loads and loads and loads of Soultrader lists, and I just ran into white black decks repeatedly, all the time. First of all, for some reason, this version actually has the best matchup against white black, even just in the main deck, because you're so full of small critters and can just combo out of nowhere, because you have so many Chthonian Nightmares, even though most of the removal is exile-based. Second of all, Turok is a pain for them to deal with, because they only really have Fatal Push to do so. They do have Fatal Push, they can definitely deal with it, but it's still hard for them to do, especially if you pressure them early on and they have to Fatal Push away something like your Marionette Apprentice or your Soultrader. And then you just, for 4 mana, kick out the Turok in their face, and then they look you in the eyes and are like, what the fuck is that card? I have not seen it in the past 2 years. So let's give this deck a go. In my testing for the RCQ with my mates, it went really well, and I hope the league will go well as well. So we'll see you then. You guys know the drill. It is a quick intermission. Please don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment, leave a deck idea you want to see. Maybe just give me a deck list that you want to see. Really helps me grow the channel. It would really mean a lot to me. And I hope you enjoy the games. I think there were some really good ones in there. And it also definitely managed to show the power of Marionette Apprentice and Sephiroth really well. So I'm glad this deck actually might be a good home for Sephiroth, except for the common decks that already exist. So I hope you enjoy it and have a good one. Yeah, Mono Black Soultrader can be a viable mono with Sephiroth. Now we have Stitcher with a Flare and a Phyrexian to propel ourselves some further, and we have a Marionette Apprentice. The land is not great. We don't have a Soultrader or anything like this, but I think it's still a keep. So we can attack with some stuff, and at the very least, the Feather Profane will be a slow removal spell. Opponent appears to be on energy. Yep. Second supplier might be nice. Just lead with the first one. And we get rid of an Apprentice and a Bowmaster. So let's just pass a turn, keep our Flare. One wants to run out and also Pride. I don't want them to start cascading off with their triggers of life gain and such. So we'll use the Flare right now. Midsommar, we actually mill a Gravecrawler, which is pretty sweet. Our opponent has a second tapped land. And now we could run out our Marionette Apprentice. We could also run out the Stitcher Supplier and grab back the Gravecrawler. Kind of like both lines. Draw Sephiroth. I think the Marionette Apprentice probably is better because it is a potential blocker against the Ocelot Pride. Let's just run out the Phyrexian Tower and play the Apprentice. Create a servo and pass the turn. It also means that top decking Chthonian Nightmare is probably better because we can, even if our opponent removes both our creatures, run out a Supplier and Nightmare it, which would be pretty nuts actually. Opponent skips combat, no removal for our Apprentice. I love to see it. Let's run out the castle. Now we have possibilities. We can run out a Supplier, buy back our Gravecrawler. We can play the Supplier, sacrifice it for Sephiroth. We can also play the Feather Profane by sacrificing a servo. Opponent didn't play anything right here, which is kind of interesting actually. I think with only the one Ocelot Pride, I'm fine to commit some more to the board. First run out the Stitcher Supplier and see if we hit anything interesting again. Because we don't really have anything else going on right now, I think I'll just run out the Gravecrawler and stay at the very least a little more passive. Sacrifice this Gravecrawler to the tower to run out the Supplier and the Gravecrawler again and deal some damage with the Apprentice. Next turn we can deploy our Sephiroth and start going in really. Play the second Supplier. Don't hit a second Gravecrawler, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is and we'll just pass it turn. We're going really wide right now. And our Sephiroth next turn probably should bring us some decent value. If we've managed to find a Nightmare next turn, would be absolutely insane because we have the entire combo set in our graveyard, even if our opponent gets rid of the Apprentice. So we have so many creatures on board that just getting back the where the Boros Soultrader once with a Nightmare in play or in our hand, which just means that we're able to combo off immediately. Our opponent also didn't play anything in instant speed, which is interesting, like no Discharge, no Thraben Charm, nothing. Kind of confused a bit as to what they have. There is a Discharge on our Apprentice. That's fine. We have the Sephiroth next turn. And they skip combat again. Second Gravecrawler also is interesting. Sacrifice a Gravecrawler, run out our Sephiroth, sacrifice the servo to draw a card. There's a Soultrader, so next turn we're able to go off. Let's just play the Gravecrawler again. I think I'll just stay back with the Suppliers. Just to be safe in case something scary might happen. Opponent yet again just wasted a turn with 3 mana. There is a Discharge for our Sephiroth, sure. That means that our Soultrader alone is not a kill. And they are also down to 2 cards because I had another land drop. Bombardment and 1 card left. So I think we're pretty fine. One does not attack. Find a Bowmaster, that's a good one. Just sacrifice the Gravecrawler for some mana. Can run out the Soultrader first, sacrifice a Supplier, and then get rid of the Ocelot Pride. I kind of like that. Looks like our opponent has a Thraben Charm to exile our graveyard, which would be annoying, but we do have a second Gravecrawler out here, so that would still be fine. They don't go for it right now. Let's just buy back our Gravecrawler where we can. And let's also just Do I want to play it now? I actually do kind of like a backup removal spell. We're not able to cast it right here, and we could just play it so we can play our Bowmasters a bit sooner in case they do have this Raven Charm. Could also run on a second grave crawler like this. I actually think I still like keeping the Feather Profane and not playing another land drop, which might look kind of weird, but like being a little safe right here. If they have Ajani right now, would still be really annoying, and being able to destroy it with the Feather Profane would be a good insurance for that. Because one of the main weaknesses this deck has is dealing with Goblin Bombardment on board. Like, we're mono black, we don't really have any enchant removal. There is some spells nowadays, but didn't really think that they are good enough for us to include. Picked up one might have a Flage. It's a Seasoned Pyromancer. Let's let it hit the field. One wants to get rid of the Soultrader. Definitely have an answer to that. Especially because they also already used their Ram Charm, they're not able to get rid of our graveyard. Sacrificing the Grave Crawler is just 100% free. Then they basically have to sacrifice their entire board to it so their Bowmaster doesn't blow them out completely. So let's sacrifice a Crawler and one of the suppliers to run up the Bowmasters. And then their Ram Charm also won't kill our Soultrader. Definitely can yield to the Soultrader ability. It's looking pretty good. They're tapped out, but to be fair, they could draw something good off of this Seasoned Pyromancer. Energy is the best deck in the format for a reason. They sacrifice their Ocelot Pride to deal a damage to the Soultrader, which means it will die to this Ram Charm, but it also means that our Bowmaster gets to go off unless they sacrifice their Pyromancer now. Which they don't. Let's just shoot them in the face, because they could otherwise just sacrifice their Pyromancer. I don't think we've milled a single Chthonian Nightmare so far. Yep. That's loads of life draws for us. Shambling Garth, not really what I wanted to see, but it's also not too bad. Let's attack our opponent with everything because we can sacrifice the Shambling Garth to the tower and use the castle. Is that bad? Yeah, it is bad. Let's just attack. Perfect Crawler. Let's Shambling Garth. Another opponent is back to 3 cards with the Pyromancer. Might be pretty rough. Like, Flage would be really good right now. Ajani would also be really good, but we can still just draw a Nightmare. There is Ajani. Ajani's pretty good for our opponent right here, controlling the board with the Bombardment together. One gets rid of our Bowmasters. That's what happens, unfortunately. Now they're also getting rid of our bigger army. Yet again, that unfortunately happens. We could have sacrificed our Channeling Guards to get rid of the Cat Warrior token, but if they just sacrifice in response is to get rid of our Bowmaster token. And there is also Flage. That's rough. That's really rough. Just create a treasure token to ramp a little. Once we get rid of the cat, they just get rid of the creature of ours. It's really interesting that they just shoot off face with the Flage. They are down to 2 creatures, so if we draw a Nightmare, we are able to kill them, I think. Another Soultrader. Fortunately, doesn't cut it. Let's attack Ajani with the Gravecrawler and see if they want to trade. Would be a free removal. They don't. That's annoying. They know. I think I still have to use everything I have to get rid of Flage though. Loved if our opponent got rid of their Cat Warrior right there, so they have a creature less for their bombardment. Now they probably just escape the Flage, and now our board presence has all but vanished. So it's starting to look really tough right now. And we get rid of a Nightmare. That's what we wanted to draw a couple of turns ago. Now the Nightmare also lost most of its value. Bogger Trawler also a turn too late to answer the Flage, and I think we're just done. We can run out the Trawler, stall another turn. That probably doesn't do anything. Gravecrawler can't block, so it doesn't do anything as well. Even if we run out the Gravecrawler, they just shoot it with Flage, attack us for 10, sacrifice the board to the bombardment, so we are just dead. Just like we get rid of one of the Stitcher suppliers, one of the Gravecrawlers, one Shambling Ghast, and one Nightmare. We can say probably also bring in some Graveyard Hate, and we just have to shave some of our 1-drops because they are way less value. Even though Shambling Ghast is really good enough Ocelot Pride, still think it's correct to just shave one of each. So let's go first. And we have 2 towers, but I think it's still a keep because the potential power of supplier into something with the tower. And we get rid of Soultrader and Bowmaster. So we are looking for Chthonian Nightmare once again. Our graveyard is already absolutely loaded. And we have Soultrader right here. That's also pretty interesting. We can just run out the Gravecrawler and Spellbomb. Hit our opponent for 1. And if our opponent taps out and we draw Marionette Princess, we can just combo them. That's just an elegant parlor that doesn't really do anything. Second Phyrexian Tower is pretty bad because it's old land, so it is legendary. But if we draw an Apprentice, we can ramp off. That unfortunately doesn't quite do it unless we had something good off the Stitcher Supplier. Definitely look for it. This Nightmare still is just really good. It's nothing too interesting. Run out the Nightmare, push Johnny, get back Bowmaster to get rid of the Cat Warrior. I think I'll also use another Nightmare to get back a Soultrader and the Gravecrawler, even though we get rid of one of our towers. Let's just play the Nightmare and keep it as it is. We're set up for next turn. Keeping Nightmare on board can always be pretty nice if your opponent doesn't have an immediate way to interact with it. If it uses Raven Charm right now, Nightmare would be really sad, to be fair, because it is our main way to keep our value on board. But if they don't get rid of it, the additional mana we have of it is really sweet. The opponent does have this Raven Charm to get rid of the Nightmare. This Raven Charm just glued to our opponent's hands. That's pretty annoying. That's really annoying. And there is a God of Souls, but they are tapped out. And we find an Apprentice, so we would have had the kill if the Nightmare would have survived. Let's just run out the Apprentice and hope that it sticks. That's the turn. Our opponent has at maximum 2 Raven Charms. I think playing into it because of the potential upside of just winning the game next turn if we draw Marionette Apprentice or Sephiroth, it's just worth it. Like, we have 8 effects to win the game, so that's just unfortunate. Now, they probably have a Flage to get rid of our Apprentice, I assume. Yep, there's Flage. Okay, get rid of the Apprentice. Or at least we do have our Spellbound to get rid of the Flage. And we draw another Apprentice. That's really sweet. Draw a card of the Spellbound, maybe hit a land drop. Yes. Run out a second Apprentice. Do you have another removal opponent? Even if our opponent doesn't with the Spymaster's World, we're probably able to, at the very least, pressure them a lot next turn. Soultrader with Gravecrawler and the Spymaster's World. Just make an unblocked creature connive a shit ton and go in. Johnny, is there also a Bombardment? Opponent still has a land drop. If the last 2 cards are land and Bombardment, we are screwed. If they are not, we might be good. Opponent hits us with a Guide of Souls, sure. We are hoping our opponent does not have a Discharge. They do have a Discharge, but they get rid of our Apprentice now. Take a big hit. Yet again, Nightmare or Apprentice are lethal. Another Soultrader unfortunately doesn't cut it. We just loop our Gravecrawler a little bit to draw some cards with the Spymaster Vault. We don't want to go too low life because our opponent is able to give their creatures flying next turn. This already looks pretty okay. And let's make our Soultrader connive in hopes of it surviving. It's a 6/6 Soultrader. It is able to block something. We are dead to Bombardment, but that's just what happens when playing against Boros. Celestial Purge. That's annoying. That just gets rid of our big blocker. And we're at such a low life total that we couldn't even combo off with an Apprentice. Opponent has another Ocelot, right? Is there any way we can draw out of this? I don't think so, because we're down to 3 life. If there was, Nightmare would be one of the best ways to maybe have an out. So let's run on the Nightmare. Grab an Apprentice. I actually clicked on the Marauder. Doesn't matter. I clicked on the one creature. Nice. Yo, both were a little too late. On to the next match. We are on the draw. As I said, unfortunately, there's no turn 1 and turn 2 play, so it is a mulligan. And this looks way better already. Could get rid of the Shambling Ghast or the Stitcher Supplier, or maybe even a second Apprentice. I think it's best to get rid of a second Apprentice, even though having multiple of those is one of our best cards. So getting rid of multiple of those still kind of hurts. But this way we are set against different decks. Turn 1 Shambling Ghast against Energy is pretty sweet. We're playing against Eldrazi, so we want to combo off ASAP. So the Stitcher Supplier is better. Drawing Sephiroth is also pretty good. We mill a Nightmare, which is unfortunate. We get rid of one of the Shambling Ghast. Doesn't really matter in this matchup, so it is what it is. Unless it's a Broodscale with the Verdant Catacombs, which might be the case. Let's see what they hit off the Ancient Stirrings, because maybe they are on Broodscales, which would mean Sephiroth stonks go way up. They just grab a Microspawn, so they could. So they're probably just a ramp variant. Run out the Swamp, run out the Apprentice, hit our opponent. At this point, we could have actually put a counter on the Apprentice to make it survive a Kozilek's return. The additional buddy together with Sephiroth next turn. I think it's just too valuable. Don't place a Boseiju. Utopia Sprawl on the Stomping Ground, so it is just a normal ramp variant. Sprawl on red, and they play the Microspawn without kicker. That's good for us. Kick at Micro Spawn is one of the worst designs cards in Magic. Love to see it not getting kicked. Play the Borg, run out Sephiroth, and let's sacrifice this token. We do find a Soultrader, so next turn, if our board survives as it is, we are able to go off, even though we don't have the Gravecrawler. Just 2 of those drain effects still deal a lot of damage. And our Channeling Guards being able to ramp us with the Soultrader also is pretty sweet. Second Utopia Sprawl. Opponent has 7 mana at their disposal. There might be something big that ruins our day. Definitely hoping to not hit an Audis Dust. No Audis Dust, please, opponent. That would really suck. That's a lot of Eldrazi mana. Devour of Destiny. Let's get rid of those Sephiroth. It's really annoying. Would have loved for that not to happen. But we still have our Apprentice and our Soultrader, so we are still able to deal loads of damage. Just take the hit because we need the supply to sacrifice to the Soultrader for the Shambling Glass. Run out the Soultrader. And let's start sacrificing. Run out the Shambling Glass, deal more damage with the Apprentice. Apprentice triggering off of those treasures from the Soultrader is just so nice. You know, we sacrifice the same Shambling Glass and actually net positive our mana, which is just crazy. And we make a treasure that also deals more damage. Play another Shambling Ghast. Sacrifice the Shambling Ghast for another treasure. Like, our opponent is not white, that I think. Did not make the mass. But we do have the Bowmaster as well. And I think it might actually just be enough. Just about enough. Ping our opponent, deal another damage, sacrifice both of those. Yep. It is just about enough. With the craziest lethal ever. I can't undo it. I needed to make black mana for the fatal push. But the treasure just made white mana when I clicked it. Holy no. Please don't matter. Okay, our opponent scoops. Okay. We would have had lethal by pushing our own Soultrader. But the treasure just made the white mana. Thank you, opponents. Thank you, opponent. On to sideboarding. Sideboarding plan against Eldrazi. We're definitely bringing in all of these Fulminator mages and trying to loop them with our nightmares. I think we're also bringing in the Sword Seals to interrupt them from the big stuff that can be quite dangerous. Fatal Push obviously is a terrible card. Bowmaster doesn't really do a lot, but I still want to keep some of those as a density of 2-drop that have multiple bodies. We're also shaving on flares because honestly the creatures are just so big and annoying that often we don't really interact with them. We just try to raid past them with our combo, but I think having some flares in the deck still allows us to maybe beat something like an Emrakul or Devourer of Destiny or Sire of Seven Deaths or something like that. We're also shaving Shambling Ghast because, except for the treasure in turns like this, it doesn't really do too much. And we're shaving one Nightmare because I do have Kozilek's command and stuff to get rid of our graveyard. Run it like this and hope we get the win. Now this hand is a turn 2 Fulminator Mage, which means snap, keep, Shambling Ghast, sacrifice to Phyrexian Tower, who potentially have way more mana on turn 2. It's actually crazy. We could cast turn 2 One Ring if it was legal. Our opponent is mulliganing down to 5 cards, so this Fulminator Mage hopefully ruins that day. Oh, it is a basic forest. Can't get rid of that. And they find a Trinisphere. That's a good card against us. That's a really good card against us, but it's better to be lucky than good, so let's sort these away. Let's get rid of the Trinisphere. And we are hopefully able to interrupt them from the other cards, like the Microspawn. Hopefully just is a somewhat of a non-factor, because the Talisman only will be played the turn after. We can... Ooh, they also have Utopia Sprawl. We can ramp off the Microspawn next turn. We could play the Shambling Ghast and sacrifice it to the Phyrexian Tower to run out the Fulminator Mage now. Or we just play the Bowmaster next turn, play the Fulminator Mage as it is. And I think we don't have to overreact too much. It's just a Talisman, yeah. So there's no Microspawn that stands. And now we get to destroy the land with the Fulminator Mage. Ooh, Gravecrawler as well. Destroy the district, hit them for 2, and hope they don't draw land so they can't cast their Microspawn. There's the land drop. Dang. So they got the Microspawn, and they grab a basic forest. So our Fulminator Mage, unfortunately, is out of business unless they grab a land with the Microspawn. Yeah, they grab a Eldrazi Temple. So, much as always with the stake, you're just hoping to drop the Chthonian Nightmare. We don't. Castle Locksmith also looks pretty promising to start drawing us some cards, actually. Because our life total doesn't really matter too much. We're not really able to deploy anything to the board. We could have used our Feather Propane against the Micro Spawn, but it's just bad. I think I'm just willing to wait and activate our castle this turn. We take the hit for 3. Opponent has a Devourer of Destiny. Good thing we are able to sacrifice it to the Phyrexian. And we could Feather Profane away the Devourer now. Or use the castle this turn. Let's just use the castle. Sephiroth, that's a good one. That's a good one. Swamp, Gas, Sephiroth. Great Treasure again. Drain our opponent. We find a Stitcher Supplier, that's also pretty nice. Run out the Supplier. We find 2 more Grave Crawlers. Damn, so let's sacrifice our army, drain our opponent, and run out 2 Grave Crawlers, I guess. Sometimes life can be this easy. We pass the turn. We only have Stitcher Supplier to block the Devourer, but next turn we're able to Feather Profane the Devourer away and start hitting our opponent with Grave Crawlers, and they are just disposable. Just like the Stitcher Supplier. Like, that boy made 2 Grave Crawlers, he absolutely worked more than he was supposed to. Definitely he's not getting paid enough for that. That guy is working minimum wage and he just saved our life by milling 2 Grave Crawlers. Now opponent will land, that's pretty good. They're in absolute top deck mode and we're able to just loop these Grave Crawlers. There's another one. Might actually just get rid of the Micro Spawn so we're able to attack with the Sephiroth, I think. Probably better. This means that we're able to attack with Sephiroth and the Grave Crawlers to deal some decent damage. Have our Sephiroth survive, draw a card, get rid of the Grave Crawler. We are able to use our tower afterwards for another Grave Crawler and buy them back. I think we're in a pretty decent position right there. Let's get rid of you. And we find a Marionette Apprentice. That's nice. Sacrifice a Grave Crawler, make some more mana. Let's run out the Apprentice so that if our opponent tries to attack us, they just die. Nice. I think that's pretty much it. Don't really know what our opponent could have right here. Easy money. On to the next match. Games before, we realized that the card we were missing pretty much all the time was Cathonia Nightmare, and now we have 2 Apprentice and Bowmaster and 2 Nightmares. So let's see if Nightmare can actually just carry us away. Like, we don't have a turn 1 play, we don't have a 3 drop, but we have 2 lands, 3 good 2 drops for Nightmare, and 2 Nightmares. Opponent is on another Eldrazi deck with Heragast, and they have a turn 1 Talisman, so we might be in trouble, but we just draw a Gravecrawler. So let's hope our opponent doesn't have Kozilek's Command, and we get to play Gravecrawler into Apprentice, into Soultrader, and just win the game. There's a second Talisman. And a Sanctum of Ugin. I don't like the sound of that, but we draw a 3rd land, and even as a Phyrexian, so maybe, just maybe we are able to do it. No Kozilek's Return, that's also good, and even if our opponent has a Keep Micro Spawn to get rid of a land, if we drop like a Soultrader, we're able to combo off with the tower. It's a Chrysalis, that's fine. Fatal Push, perfect answer for the Chrysalis. Let's run out a second Apprentice, create another servo, drain our opponent some more, and let's push this Chrysalis to just get a hit in. Now opponent has access to loads of mana now, especially with it another Eldrazi Temple right here. So we definitely are not safe. Devourer of Destiny is probably one of the better things for us that they could have. Like, get rid of Apprentice permanently. We can't Nightmare it, but we still can just top deck Soultrader and win. See what they grab off the Sanctum. They actually just get Emrakul. There's still some mana off of casting Emrakul, so I'm actually not too worried about that right now. Our opponent is down to the 2 mana, so they don't really have any attacks right now. Another Swamp, possibly one of the worst top decks we could have had. Because why not? Even if they block there, they already take a damage. And they actually get rid of a spawn. It's 2 kind opponent. Let's run out the Bowmaster to get rid of the other spawn. Our second Devourer would be troublesome. And them also getting back the Heragast with the Labyrinth, sacrificing the Devourer, will be tough, because they might draw good cards off of it. I'll just take the hit. We were still at fresh 20, and they go down to 7 because they have to use the red mana of the Talisman. They're down to only the Temple, so maybe our Bowmaster hitting them. What? It's a May trigger! Heragast is a May trigger, everybody! Who knew that? Who here knew that Heragast is a May? So our board is reduced to 0. Did not know that was a May trigger. I thought we at the very least get to hit them some more. They play the second Nightmare, that's actually pretty sweet. Why would they do that? I appreciate your help, opponent. Really thoughtful. They block the Gravecrawler, that's to be expected. And now they probably just sacrifice the Bowmaster to the Phyrexian Tower. No, they get back the Gravecrawler. Sure. Do they not use the tower? They use the tower now, okay. So they just gave us some free energy, which doesn't matter in the slightest. We just draw another Nightmare. That's literally the worst top deck we could have had. But I guess we're only going down to 1 life, so there is still ways for us to win next turn, especially with 3 Nightmares on the board. Like, draw any 2-drop creature that makes another body and we are fine. Because our opponent is only at 6 life and we're able to grab an Apprentice. Unless they have Kozilek's Command. That's the problem of our Nightmares. And they go down to 5 life. Grab a Forest. Utopia Sprawl, sure. They're down to 2 cards and they have not cast Kozilek's Command before, so there's hope. Flare of Malice answers the Emrakul. That's too funny. So I guess we're just top decking opponent. I don't think they have Reach. Microspawn, sure. They probably have way to get rid of our graveyard. Yeah, there's a Bushuka Bog. And they also get rid of our tower. That's rough. That's rough. Spymaster Vault, we're dead. Sad. Close one. Really close one. Yet again, setting against Eldrazi. Take out the push. Shave the Malice. Shave a Bowmaster. Shave a Nightmare. Take out the Shambling Ghast. Bring in Swordsy at Fulminator Mage. And let's run. So now we're on the play. Our hand looks pretty sweet. Let's keep. Gravecrawler. Like, there is no turn 2 play except for second Gravecrawler. But if one of those Gravecrawlers sticks around, opponent maybe even taps out for something. Soultrader and Sephiroth are a combo. Forest with Utopia Sprawl, opponent starts ramping already. Second Swamp, so nothing too exciting here, except a second 1-mana 2-1 that can't block. The best that Mono Black has to offer. And there's an Eldrazi Temple. I'd assume they probably have a Kozilek's Command right here. But we find a second Soultrader, that's pretty nice actually. Let's run out the first. So 2 Soultraders were actually able to play somewhat around of Kozilek's Command. We still get rid of one of the Gravecrawlers if they use it now, but we still have the other one and we can sacrifice it in response to some stuff. Yeah, there's the Kozilek's Command. And they are ramping with our opponent. Opponent sacrificed both a token for Talisman, so has to be Kozilek's return here, right? Just to kick out Microspawn, so they are dead. Unless our opponent plays Dismember. I definitely won't respect that. If our opponent plays Dismember, well, womp womp. They worked harder for the victory than we did. So let's go for the combo. Sephiroth Drain will yield. Soultrader Treasure will yield. And let's do the Gravecrawler. Going through the loop, our opponent doesn't do a thing. Going through the loop, our opponent doesn't scoop. Going through the loop, our opponent doesn't realize that they are already dead. La, da, 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 da. Let's sing the song together now. Our opponent doesn't scoop. Let's sing the song together now. We even have a Sephiroth. Nice. On to game 3. No changes to sideboarding. No changes. Now we are on the draw. This hand is a 1-lander, but it is a real good one. We have the Swordsies, we have Gravecrawler and Supplier, but I can't, for the love of God, keep a 1-lander with this deck. That's Mulligan. Let's be reasonable. This also looks pretty good. We do have the Fulminator Mage. Let's keep it. And I think I'll put away a Bowmaster right here. Even though it's a creature that has 2 bodies. Don't have a Devourer pre-game action. That's annoying. So let's kind of hope that they put Utopia's Brawl on the Stomping Ground so we can use our Fulminator Mage. And I'm also hoping that we top deck a Phyrexian Tower to get rid of the Shambling Ghast for Fulminator Mage. 2 Beans Lab turn 1. Our Fulminator Mage looks really good right here. Layer of Malice, so at the very least we are able to sacrifice our Shambling Ghast in response to something to make a treasure. And then Rumble, like, I actually don't hate getting rid of my Shambling Ghast for a token right here and getting rid of the Ugit's Labyrinth that way. I actually don't hate it. So let's do that. Create a treasure, get rid of the spawn. And let's Fulminator Mage away with their Ugit's Labyrinth. Let's still have the Eldrazi Temple next turn. Next turn we can play Sephiroth. And they are not that likely to get rid of it the turn after. There's no value for us to be gained with the Sephiroth. It's still looking pretty good. Could also run out the Boggart Crawler right here, actually. Don't hate that. they do have a decent amount of types in their graveyard right now, actually. And it also hits them for 3 without being so much of a threat that they'll immediately use any removal on it. And if they do, our Sephiroth will stick. Don't just place a Cosmos command for a single token and a single draw. That's okay, they kept the card on top, so that might be a little dangerous. Just a land. No kick micro spawns around here, I love it. Rissing Chrysalis. That's really dangerous right here. Play a Supplier. And then we'll play Sephiroth and hope our opponent doesn't use Eldrazi spawns in response to the Sephiroth. No important mills, that's good for us. Let's round Sephiroth and hope they don't use a Chrysalis. They don't use a token, nice. So let's sacrifice the Supplier to draw a card. Mill and drain. Oh, we mill a Nightmare, that's unfortunate. If there was one more creature that died this turn, I would have attacked with a Trawler. Because if they sacrifice a spawn, so their Chrysalis doesn't die, it would be another sacrifice. It would still only be 3, so Sephiroth wouldn't flip. And sacrificing the Trawler just for 2 drain is not worth it. There's the Chrysalis. Probably get rid of our Spymaster's Vault. Yep. Opponent grabbed the Sanctum of Ugin, so they must have a big Eldrazi in hand right now. I'll just take the hit of the Chrysalis. I don't really care. That also means that we have a better attack without Trawler next turn. Curse Marauder, that's a good one actually. That's a really good one. Get to sacrifice that, get rid of one of those, have 2 Sephiroth triggers, and then we get to attack with both of these, trigger some more. Get rid of the Chrysalis. I love as a trade with the Trawler. Them having a big Eldrazi, which almost guarantees that they have a way to exile Sephiroth, but I guess I'll still just attack with the Trawler. It takes a trade, so we get to flip Sephiroth. We actually get to flip Sephiroth right here. The Blood Artist emblem might be really important. So let's pass a turn. And if they don't have an answer for Sephiroth now, 5/5 flyer, it's hard. There's a second Chrysalis. We don't really worry about Chrysalis too much now that we have the flip Sephiroth. Like, this guy has reach. Tucked in between all the stacks, it has reach. It is dangerous. Like, we can't attack freely into it. But we're still draining them every time they sacrifice their spawns. There is another micro spawn, but they don't kick it for some reason. They just grab a land. They grab a Bojuka Box. Okay. That's annoying, but we don't have a Nightmare right now, so there was no Gravecrawler in the grave, so we don't actually care too much. Why did it skip through my main phase? Why did it do that? I guess we're screwed. I wanted to play the Trawler before and sacrifice a Trawler for draw and drain, but I guess not. I guess not. That's annoying. Would have loved to do that. Frontside Kozilek's return is fine, and even the backside Kozilek's return is also still fine, because it gets rid of both their creatures and we trigger our emblem a little more. They used it right here. But also takes a trade with Chrysalis right here, put our opponent down to 3 life. I think I can also just take the hit, because if they don't have something big, they're dead. The question is, what big thing do they have? If it's the War of Destiny, they also exile our Sephiroth. But then they would have just used that and that offered us a possibility of trading. I think whatever big thing they have, it's nothing that actually hands it out Sephiroth immediately. I think they're just attacking because the things will die to it afterwards. Let's just take the hit like we had 25. If it is a Devourer, we're getting punished, but then our opponent just made a misplay, I think. The World Breaker, yeah. So if they use a return, everything else dies and they go down to 2. They did not use their Sanctum of Ugin. That's interesting. Probably a misclick on their part. And they also don't use a Kozilek's return. Okay, so our Sephiroth stays. This does nothing. I just have to pass the turn. Both in top deck mode. Our opponent is using its Sanctum. It's super weird. Good thing we're still at 16 life. Just take the hit. If we draw something like an Apprentice, we can just kill our opponent by attacking with Sephiroth and draining everything. Stitch a Supplier. That's interesting. That's at the very least a blocker for the Chrysalis, and maybe we draw a Gravecrawler. We mill a Gravecrawler, we actually mill a Gravecrawler, that's huge. Could attack and sacrifice these, drain, but I think still have to stay back. They are also top decking. If they find an answer that answers all of our things, I guess we die. We could attack with Sephiroth, drain our opponent like this, they block, they go down to 3. We can buy back the Gravecrawler, draw a card with Sephiroth. That's also not bad. We just did so much things. Because the Gravecrawler can't block, it's really tricky. I think it's better to not attack right here, because we are almost tapped out, so even if we draw 2-drop by sacrificing the Gravecrawler, we're not really able to do anything with it. So we just have to stay in the top deck wall like this. And now with the Stitches Supply, it's really awkward for opponent to attack. Dominator Mage is actually pretty sweet, because that's a free Sephiroth trigger that also answers that Sanctum. Our opponent is down to 4. Attacking with Sephiroth, sacrificing the other things, doesn't quite cut it, so we'll have to wait one more turn. Having the Blood Artist trigger as an ambient is just so cracked. Absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. There is another Ugin's Labyrinth. We don't care about that, luckily enough. The Exile Emperor, cool. Oh, good thing we exiled their graveyard all the time with the Boggart Trawlers. Second Saucies, that just does nothing. But I think at this point I'll attack and sacrifice the Gravecrawler, draw some cards. Or do I? Drawing those 2 Saucies is so bad. I still think I have to stay back. But now they're able to cast the top deck, the Emrakul. I should attack with a Gravecrawler all the time. What am I doing? I should have attacked with a Gravecrawler. That was a free attack. Should have absolutely attacked with a Gravecrawler. I don't know why I didn't do that. That's just free drain. They have to take the block and take the damage. Now we find a Nightmare. That's GG. Getting back the Apprentice and sacrificing everything. Nice. We're just winning against Eldrazi today. That's nice. On to the next match. We still can't win die rolls, but it is what it is. But even though we can't win die rolls, our hand looks pretty good, so let's keep this. Gravecrawler turn 1 and into a variety of different 2-drops. We're playing now. This probably is a variant that plays a combo with what's his face, 2-drop. They play the Blade of the Blood Chief. All of you already know what they're playing. Like, I don't have to tell you. Even if you don't know the deck, you'll see it below. Yes, the Eldrazi deck that I was talking about earlier. What's it face again? This guy. Broodscale Combo. There it is. There is a good boy. Who's a good boy? You a good boy. You a good boy. So, I think I have to respect our opponent potentially coming off next turn. So let's attack them with a Gravecrawler. Hit you, opponent. And then we'll play a Marauder. I think I'll sacrifice the Marauder because we can just buy it back next turn with a Casonia Nightmare. Opponent has another Halfling and another Land Drop. And another Broodscale. Okay. That's actually kind of tricky. 2 Broodscales mean we're just dying to the combo next turn. Tap blocked into attack with the Gravecrawler. Let's just hope they don't have the combo, I guess. Don't really think Nightmare right here does anything. Like, they can just sacrifice one of the Broodscales and don't care. So I'll just keep up the Bowmaster in case they don't have the combo. That's just a land. And that's just a Kozilek's command. Let's run out our Bowmaster. Let's shoot one of the Broodscales, so they have to activate it now, which they probably just do. At the very least, we do have blockers. Oh, they also don't have the combo. And we have Sephiroth right here, so I guess business is booming. Sephiroth really good against their combo, because it just stopped them from doing anything. Drawing Soultrader also pretty nice, so let's just pass a turn and hope they don't have the combo and an answer for Sephiroth. Even if they have an answer for Sephiroth and they don't combo, we just combo them next turn. Those 2 cards must be really good. That looks like an answer to Sephiroth. I don't like it. Yeah, that is an answer. They don't have the mana to combo us now. Or do they? No. Because they have to use both those tokens. Oh. We win, right? Nice. Who's the better creature combo deck that sacrifices something over and over again, opponent? Ooh. Soultrader Combo. Soultrader Combo. Run out the Swamp. Run out the Apprentice. Fabricate. Make a servo. Run as a Soultrader. Heal you. So we sacrifice a servo token to our Soultrader. Opponent scoops it up onto sideboarding. Now let's see how we go. Sideboard against the combo. I think 2-minute damage doesn't do anything there. The creature combo deck Saucies might be good, but I'm not really sure if I want to bring it in right now. I think I'll just try to focus on removing the creatures and hoping that Sephiroth sticks around. Not bringing Saucies might be a mistake. We'll see that post-board, but for now, let's just bring in the second Marauder to maybe just interrupt their combo for good and take out one of the suppliers and one of the Nightmares, because I think Shamnigast might be pretty sweet actually here. Game number 2, Gravecrawler with Flare of Malice and a Soultrader, plus we have a Casonia Nightmare if we draw just anything good. This is a keep. We don't have the combo immediately, like we don't have a payoff for it. We can loop our Gravecrawler without doing anything, but we have Gravecrawler and Soultrader. We have Flare to interact with them. I like it. I like it. Also pretty sweet about the Flare interaction is that it gets rid of, goes around stuff like Veil of Summer if they play it, which is also one of the reasons why I'm kind of hesitant of playing Sword Seasons right now, because I don't quite know if they do play it. And we draw an Apprentice right here. That's so good. Let's just stop them in the tracks immediately, sacrifice this, and let's stop them from doing anything. And if they don't exile our stuff and don't exile with us, we can just play Apprentice, play Soultrader, sacrifice a servo, and combo off. This is clean, good living, everybody. I love it. I really hope this deck might be good. I don't know if I talked about it in the Decktech earlier, but this is the list I'm considering playing at my local RCQ. Like, I'm already qualified for the next RC, but I would just want to play something fun. Like, I'm pretty much just there to support our LGS because it's the first real RCQ that they are hosting. So everybody is there just hoping that they'll continue doing that. And I just want to play something fun, stupid, and mess with my mates. Ooh, Spymaster's Vault. So opponent can exile our Gravecrawler, because they do have the Cosalex command, which they do, but I still don't hate where we're at. And they make a single spawn token. That's okay. Let's just attack and hit our opponent. And there's also one type of card that I hope that exists, but I have not seen anything, I don't know anything. If one of you guys knows something, if there is a 3-drop black creature that comes into play with 2 additional bodies, like it's 3 creatures for 3 mana basically, hit me up. Because if there is, you can go infinite with Nightmare and the Soultrader with it, with stuff like Sephiroth, because you can just cycle the creature over and over again by sacrificing it and the token to play the Nightmare and sacrificing the last token to the Nightmare to bring it back. And just a spicy one-off. Just be so cute. And there's a Broodscale, so they are going out. Do they also have the payoff for it is the question. You guys know the drill. I just texted our opponent that I'll scoop if they have it. They have the Flash Breaker, so let's just concede the game. For game number 3, I think I'll just bring in 2 Sword Seasons by shaving a Bowmaster and Shambling Guard, because I think some discard interaction probably is nice, but I don't want to shave on my combo pieces too much. So let's do it like this and see how it goes. So let's go first, and we don't have a land, so mulligan. And this is interesting. Let's keep it and put away a Soultrader. We do have Supplier and a Tower, so there is definitely a lot of potential right here. Mill a second Sephiroth and an Orcish Bowmaster. Opponents leads off with an Ancient Stirring, and they find a Blade of the Blood Chief. One of the things that I also like with our deck against their combo is that we have loads of interaction that doesn't care about their power, like our Edict effects and our Fatal Push. Even if their creature is infinitely big, we don't care. And next turn we're gonna potentially play Soultrader Sephiroth, maybe just a Sephiroth. Definitely hoping to draw land. I don't want to sacrifice something right here to run out our creature. Another Supplier. Guess I sacrifice a servo to run out Sephiroth. Sephiroth just is too good. And we find a Flare of Malice, that's sweet. That means we can interact with them. Oh, we mill 2 lands, that's unfortunate. Let's just attack our opponent with the Apprentice. But we do have Sephiroth in play, we have Flare and Fatal Push at our disposal for the next turns. I think we're still pretty good, pretty fine. The thing Needle is annoying, we can't handle that, so that will stop our combo if they grab it. They don't. They took the Eldrazi Temple, that's interesting. They run out a Blade of the Blood Chief. Opponent is not afraid, so let's play a Stitches Supplier. And we find a Gravecrawler, so that's the victory. GG's opponent, we are the quicker combo deck apparently. On to the last match. Last match of the league. We actually won a die roll. Guys, we actually won a die roll. What the fuck? This can happen? We have 2 drops, we have Flare, we have Push. This is okay. This is nothing great, nothing special. But if our opponent is playing energy, it's actually pretty nice. Push Ocelot or Guide. Play Bowmaster to get rid of something. Play Flare to get rid of something. And there is a Fiery Islet, so it's probably Prowess. Maybe a Soporific Springs. Bolted it. There's a Steel Cutter, sure. And no follow-up play, so our Bowmaster just gets to hit them. Take that opponent, and I'll just immediately run out a second Bowmaster and hit them a bit harder. If there's any good card to deal with Steel Cutter and Mono Black, let me know. Maybe you guys won't believe it, but I literally saw the RCQ and to test for beforehand, because I wanted to get some practice in. and I was just going through my binder, and I literally just took all the black cards that I thought that might fit in, and it just fit perfectly. And going through the sideboard cards, pretty much the same process. Just went through the cards, thought what might work, threw it in. The Emrakul is just for the local meta, because we will have probably 2 Eldrazi players. One makes a token, and I'll just sacrifice the Bone Master in response to the bolt to get rid of the token. Because Marauder, unfortunately, really bad against Core Steel Cutter. Because usually the upside of our opponent having to sacrifice a non-talk creature means it doesn't do anything against the Steel Cutter. And annoying. I will vote myself just to have push up, because you never know. Second Steel Cutter. Now it's getting annoying. At very least no Lava Dart. I guess it's something. If they had a Lava Dart right here, they just mill a Lava Dart with the Consider. Okay. Drain our opponent a little, and I think I'll just roll the Apprentice some more. We actually can get rid of Grave Crawler right here. That's pretty nice. And we draw a land to have Fat Push available. We don't have a zombie right now because I got rid of the Marauder. Will ever be useful. Like that Cathonia Nightmare. Yes. It's like you always want to do with this deck. Cathonia Nightmare is the king of modern. Just push the big one and take the hit from all the other ones. Definitely have to make sure that at least one creature stays around. Don't really like the Marauder. I think we can safely just shave one Nightmare. Let's just bring in the 2 Spell Bombs. Surgical might be okay. Don't really want to deal damage to myself with the Sword Seize. It's like Marauder because of other token creatures. Turok doesn't do anything. Fulminator doesn't really do anything. So let's just bring in the 2 Spell Bombs and hope we can win. We're on the play again against the most teched out Prowess variant I've ever seen. No land, unfortunately, so it's a mulligan. And this only land for Centaurs, one other mulligan. Does it have to end like this? Let's keep this one. This hand might be able to do things. I think I'll have to get rid of the Flare just to make sure that we have land drops. Run out the Grave Crawler. Holding ourselves sucks a lot though. But unfortunately the castle is just a tap land right here. There is a DRC. Run out our tap land, hit our opponent for 2. There is a Steel Cutter. So the dance begins. Also have the Bauble to trigger the Steel Cutter. And they almost have Delirium. Second Bauble. Do they hit the Delirium of the Survey trigger? They keep the cut on to run out Sephiroth. Sacrifice the Crawler, draw a card. And hope that we and Sephiroth will survive the next turn. If they just spend another turn only for setup, we are able to combo them next turn. This is a lot to ask. They have 6 cards in hand. They have Steel Cutter and DRC on board. We're dying to a breeze right here. They don't have to do too much. And Sephiroth also just dies to Bolt. They start off with a Cutter. So maybe it's just a Consider and them hitting us real hard. If it is, we just kill them with Soultrader. There is a Bolt. There's Soultrader. Get back the Grave Crawler. Sacrifice the Grave Crawler. And we go out on our own terms. GG's. What a league, what a league, what a league, what a league. So let's look at the list and go into the Afterthoughts. List already perfectly sorted, as all things should be. I really like the main deck. I think maybe we should play one more Spymaster's Vault. You can't really go up on the Phyrexian Towers because they're legendary. It already came up once that souls were stuck. Maybe just play one more Fel the Profane or one more Spymaster Vault just to have a little better of a mana base. Maybe you could even shave one land, but I don't really want to do that. We are already somewhat landlight with the 22 lands. We had to mulligan a decent bit of lands because we didn't have enough lands. Other than that, I really like the spell base actually of the main deck. Regarding the sideboard, this definitely needs some tuning. Like we saw against Prowess, we just cold to Steel Cutter. There's no real good way for us to deal with it. Maybe we have to splash something and play fetch lands, play like Collar Guns Command or something to get rid of a Steel Cutter. Don't actually play Collar Guns Command. It was just the first idea that came to mind as a shatter effect. Something to deal with Steel Cutter probably is necessary, because I don't really know how to win against that Prowess decks other than that. Losing against Boros like that was kind of depressing. I think the matchup actually is pretty decent, except for Goblin Bombardment. So maybe we should play something like Disruptor Flute as a sideboard, or Pithing Needle, because it's also good against stuff like Belcher, and can shut down the bombardment that we otherwise don't really have a way to deal with. Also, like, you don't have to play the Emrakul. I already said in the Decktech, I think this is just a local meta call. Really like the deck. I think I'm actually gonna go with it for the RCQ. Just follow me on my other socials, like it said below. Bam, what a timing. And you get an update if I played it or if I played something else. The other decks that I have in petto to play are also rather spicy, so maybe you'll see some tech and turns action in the future. Anyway, have a good one. See you in the next video.